Just before dawn on August 21st, 2017, one of the most advanced warships on Earth was threading the eastern gate of the Strait of Malacca, a shipping lane busier than any highway on the planet. Then in the middle of rush hour traffic, her steering stopped answering. 3 minutes later, the destroyer, USS John S. McCain, collided with a loaded oil tanker. 10 sailors never came home, not in a war zone, in a traffic lane. Welcome to the narrowest gate of the world economy. Look at the map. Between the Malay Peninsula and the island of Sumatra, the sea narrows into a funnel. And at its tightest squeeze, the Phillips Channel off Singapore, safe water is barely 2.8 kilometers wide. Through that needle last year, passed more than 102,000 ships, a record. That is one ship every 5 minutes, every hour, all year long. Almost a quarter of global seaborne trade. And here is the number that should stop you. 23 million barrels of oil every single day. 29% of all the oil that moves by sea. That makes Malacca the #1 oil choke point on Earth. Yes, bigger than Hormuz. Add 9 billion cubic feet of liquefied natural gas a day. Add the phones, the grain, the car parts, and the strait is not just narrow, it is shallow. About 20 meters of draft is the limit, and international rules demand 3.5 meters of clearance under your keel at all times. The very biggest tankers, fully loaded, simply do not fit. Guarding the exit sits the greatest city ever built on a transit fee. Singapore, the world's busiest transshipment hub, the planet's largest refueling station for ships, 44 million containers and 56 million tons of marine fuel in a single year, all of it living off one narrow blue line. Now look at the same map from Beijing. China buys about 11 million barrels of imported oil every day, and roughly 80% of what arrives by sea squeezes through this one strait. In the first half of 2025, nearly half of all the imports moving through Malacca were bound for a single country, China. In November 2003, President Hu Jintao told a party economic conference that certain major powers were bent on controlling this passage. The Chinese press gave that fear a name that stuck, the Malacca Dilemma. And it is not paranoia. The waterway is patrolled by Malaysia, Indonesia, and Singapore, not by China. Its far end opens onto seas where the American Navy, the same Navy whose destroyer we just met, operates every single day. In a crisis, whoever controls the approaches to Malacca holds a valve on the Chinese economy. Every barrel of Gulf crude, every tanker of gas bound for Shanghai, answers to a channel that Beijing does not command and cannot widen. That single geographic fact, not ideology, not tariffs, quietly shapes ports, pipelines, and naval budgets across all of Asia. So let's run the numbers on the nightmare. Say the strait closes, an accident, a blockade, a war scare. The detour exists. Swing south through the Lombok Strait. For a supertanker on the Gulf to East Asia run, that is roughly 2,500 extra nautical miles. About 7 more days round trip. 7 days of fuel, crew and capital delivering nothing. Multiply it across the map. By one official estimate, nearly half of the world's shipping fleet would have to reroute. And we have already seen the preview. When the Red Sea turned dangerous, traffic through Suez collapsed. A year and a half later, it was still 70% below normal, and freight rates and insurance premiums exploded around the world. Malacca is a bigger artery than Suez ever was. The strait does not even need a war to add friction. In 2025, reported piracy here hit 108 incidents, up 74%, the highest count in almost 2 decades. Mostly petty theft from moving ships, and it fell sharply after arrests. But every incident is a reminder of the same ledger line. This much of the world economy squeezed through this little water, prices even small trouble globally, at the pump and at the checkout. Every trapped giant dreams of a way out. Plan 1, cut a path across Thailand. The old dream was the Kra Canal, talked about for generations, never once funded. Its modern version is not even a canal, a $28 billion land bridge. 2 new ports and a railway across the isthmus. Status in 2026, A government review, environmental study sent back for rework, and not 1 meter of track on the ground. Plan 2. Skip the sea. China built a pipeline through Myanmar, from the Bay of Bengal straight to Kunming. Capacity, 440,000 barrels a day. China's imports, about 11 million. The pipe covers roughly 4%. Plan 3, the Pakistan corridor to Gwadar. On the map, a brilliant shortcut. In an engineer's spreadsheet, a fantasy. Overland oil would cost 5 to 7 times more per barrel than shipping it over a 4,700-meter mountain pass into a port too shallow for the big tankers. The crude pipeline was never built. Plan 4, the melting Arctic. In all of 2025, the Northern Sea Route carried about 3 million tons of transit cargo. Malacca moves more than that, in oil alone, every single day. That is the brutal arithmetic of escape. Every alternative is a rounding error. The strait has no substitute. Zoom back out. One channel. 2.8 kilometers of safe water. Almost a quarter of the world's seaborne trade and more oil than any other passage on Earth. China plans its navy around it. The world's busiest transshipment port exists because of it, and most people sail through life without ever thinking about it. You voted for this door, and the next vote is already open. Panama, the canal that keeps running short of water, is waiting in the comments. Subscribe and see you at the next door.